Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome and don't forget to subscribe. Today I'm gonna share with you how I made this beautiful oversized blazer with a lapel collar. It's very easy guys, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. So let's get started, shall we? So I'm going to mark two lines from the edge of the pattern paper, and these are going to be the guideline where we're going to be placing our body measurements. So the first measurement we're going to need is our shoulder measurement, which is half of shoulder measurement. And then we're going to need our neck width, which is 3 inches. From the shoulder point, you want to go down by half of an inch to create a shoulder slope. And then we're going to start by creating the neck depth for the back, which is 1 inch, and connect the 2 points. The next measurement we're going to need is our armhole round. So you need to measure half of your armhole round and place it on that line. And mine is going to be 9 inches. From that point, I am going to mark a straight line across the pattern paper, and that line is going to serve as our chest line. The next measurement we're going to need is shoulder to waist, and mine is 16 inches. So I am going to implement the full length of the blouse, and on that line, on the side line, I am going to place 23 inches, which is going to be the length of my blouse. And then I am going to add 1 inch, which is going to be for hemming. And then once I'm done, I'm going to square across the pattern paper. So on the chest line, I am going to take my bust round measurement, quarter of the bust round, plus 2 inches. And then I am going to extend the line all the way down to the full length of the blouse. On the waistline, I am going to go in by half of an inch, and this is just for shaping. Moving on to the armhole, I am going to find the center point of that line and mark, and then go in by half of an inch. Then I am going to connect this line to the shoulder slope. From then, I am going to go to the chest line, go out by 1 inch and create a curve. So this line is going to serve as the front armhole. For the back, on the center point, you want to curve again, and that line is going to serve as a back armhole. So I drafted 2 armholes on one pattern. So let's go and cut it out. So before we cut it out, I just want to show you that you first cut out the back armhole before you cut out the front armhole. So we will need a new pattern paper, and on the top edge of the paper, I just want to go down, just leave a space of around 4 inches. And also on the side of the pattern paper, you want to leave around a space of around 3 or 4 inches. Once you're done, you want to take your pattern, which is, in this case, it's going to be the back pattern, and place it right on the line. And then once you're done, you want to trace it out. So now, once you're done tracing it out, we will need to determine the depth of our front neckline, which is going to be 5 inches for me. And then I'm going to connect it to the shoulder slope or the neck width. Then it's time for us to create the lapel. So what we're going to do is I am going to go out by 3 inches, and that's the width of my lapel. So going back to the waist, I am going to go out by 1.5 inch. The half inch will serve as a seam allowance. And then I'm going to go up by 1 inch again, and that is the button stand. The next thing, you want to connect that button stand to the lapel. So the next part we need to do is to create the collar stand. You will need your back pattern and measure the neck width. And mine is 3.6 inches. So I am going to go on the front pattern and mark a straight line which is joining to the neckline. Then I'm going to take the back neck measurement and place it on that line. Once I am done, I am going to go out or back by 1/2 an inch because the neck, the collar stand, it's not so straight at the back. So I am also going to connect that point to the neckline. So here you don't have to place your ruler straight. Make sure you place your ruler at a 90-degree angle, as shown on the video. And then you want to place your collar stand, the width of your collar stand, and mine is going to be around 3.5 inches. Now moving on to the lapel or the neck width, I am going to go out by 1 inch, and then from that point go up again by 1 inch and connect it to the neckline. And then I am going to connect the 2 points all the way to the collar or the collar stand. So guys, just don't forget to mark your pattern, and this one is going to be our front pattern. Let's go ahead and cut out all the pieces. So before I forget, I forgot to trim out the front armhole. So I am going to just mark the chest line. And then on the armhole, I am going to do just like I did for the back pattern. So I'm going to find the midpoint of that line, and then I'm going to go in by 1/2 an inch. Then connect it with the shoulder slope, and then also just blend it with the curve. So the front pattern is on the armhole, it's a bit shallower compared to the back pattern. Now moving right along to drafting our sleeve pattern. So I am going to mark a straight line or a guideline on top of the pattern paper, and then I am going to find the midpoint of that line and mark it all the way down. So the next thing that I am going to do here is measure the length of my sleeve, of which is going to be 23 inches, and then I'm going to add 1 inch, which is going to be for hemming. Then once I am done, this line on top is going to serve as the shoulder line. So from the shoulder, I am going to measure shoulder to bicep. In my case, it's 7 inches, and I am going to mark the line across the pattern. So on that line, you will need to implement your bust round measurement. So I'm going to take my bust round measurement plus 1 inch of ease. And then I'm going to take that measurement, half of it, place it on one side. So mine is 13. I'm going to half of 13 is 7. I'm going to place 7 on both sides. And then I'm going to connect the the points to form a triangle on the sleeve head. And then you're going to measure from your shoulder to elbow. And mine is going to be around 16 or 13 inches. And then I am also going to extend the line across the pattern paper. You're going to take your elbow round plus 1 inch of ease, and then you're going to divide that measurement by 2. Then you're going to do the same thing like you did for the bicep. Place half of that measurement you find on both sides. The same thing you're going to do for the on the wrist. You're going to take the wrist measurement and make sure it's not so tight, it's a little bit loose, so add a little bit of movement. Then you're going to take that measurement, half of that measurement, and then the answer you find, you're going to place it on both sides of the sleeve. Then once you're done, this is how you draft a sleeve pattern, but I'm not done yet. We're still going to go ahead and draft the sleeve head. Now going ahead to shaping our sleeve head, what we need to do is you find the divide that line by 3. So I'm going to divide that line by 3 and then mark straight line across. So on the first line, I am going to go out. Okay, before doing that, you need to determine the front and the back. So on the front side, I am going to go out by half of an inch. And then on the second point, I'm going to go in by 0.3 of an inch. And then I am going to connect the points first with the curve and then all the way. And then for the back, I am going to divide this point here by 2 or half. And then I'm going to go in by 0.3. And then on the first line, I'm going to go out by 1 inch. And then I'm going to create or connect the points. So you will notice that for the back, it's a little bit... For the back, it's not so deeper than the front, so there is differences between the front and the back. So I'm going to go ahead and add seam allowance except the bottom, because we did add 1 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to add ½ inch seam allowance on the sides. So I went ahead and I added seam allowance, which is ½ inch. Please don't forget to notch your pattern. So I'm notching the front. So this will make it easier for us to actually sew our sleeve. Moving on to creating the facing. This method will actually help us if we don't have enough pattern paper. So on the shoulder of the front pattern, I am going to mark 2.5, right? The ½ inch is going to serve as a seam allowance. So right at the bottom, I'm going to mark 2 inch plus ½ inch, which is going to be for seam allowance. So I'm going to fold where I marked the points, the 2.5 inch. I'm going to fold on that line. So once we're done, now we can go ahead and trace out the front part of our facing. So you want to do the same thing for the side of our facing. On that folded line, you want to mark ½ inch next to that folded line. And then you have to do the same thing, fold on that second line that I just marked. So guys, once we're done folding, we're going to go ahead and trace out the side of our blazer. And guys, we are done drafting out our blazer pattern. So see you in part 2.